Hey guys, welcome back to another video. You know what this is, iPhone 8 Plus, and I've been getting a lot of questions like, is it any good? Should I upgrade or wait for the 10? Jay, should I just ditch iPhone altogether and pick up a Windows phone? Well, I might have made that last one up, but still, you get the idea. It's a great phone, so stick around for the review. Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face. Jumping right into the design, well, let's face it, Apple hasn't changed much and it looks just like the last 3 generations before it. Now, is that a bad thing? It really depends on who you ask. Personally, I think it's time for a change. Forgetting for just a second that the iPhone X is right around the corner and looking at the iPhone 8 Plus as it stands on its own, well, this is definitely lacking as far as design goes. I mean, really, you wouldn't know if it's an iPhone 6 Plus from 2014 or the new iPhone just by looking at the front. Not to mention it's still a 5.5-inch display with only 1080p resolution, just like the iPhone 6 Plus from 2014. The display is actually really good and the colors look better than I thought they would. Plus, Apple even added their True Tone tech, which is supposed to give you a better experience, but I never really noticed it. Honestly, I still prefer the more saturated colors from Samsung's panels, and then there's the LG V30 and the Google Pixel 2 with 2K OLED displays coming very soon. So yeah, the competition makes this look a little outdated, but there is some new things, so if you're wondering what's new, turn it around and you'll instantly know it's the new iPhone because it's made out of glass, and Apple claims it's the strongest glass on a smartphone. It's not Gorilla Glass either, so how much of that is true, I'm not entirely sure. But I don't see any scratches on mine, and the rear has no FCC labels or carrier branding, giving it a nice sleek look on the back. Even the antenna bands are well hidden, only showing around the sides of the device. The dual speaker setup carries over from the iPhone 7 Plus, more on that a little bit later, and Touch ID is still here as well. One of my favorite features has to be the alert slider, and it's not really until you use it that you understand how useful it really is. Of course, we still have water and dust resistance, and for the first time in iPhone history, we have wireless charging. And it's not just for the iPhone 8 or the 10 either. Apple now gives you wireless charging on the Apple Watch Series 3, plus you can buy an adapter for your AirPods and charge those wirelessly too. That's pretty cool. It would have been nice to have seen USB Type-C for charging and kind of make that the standard, but that might be asking for too much. So there is some changes, but like I said, Apple needs to change the design a little and give consumers innovation like Samsung and LG and, well, other OEMs that are doing it for a similar price and not charging over $1,000. In the end, it's not a bad looking phone, and this silver model looks pretty cool, but I don't see myself going into the store and buying this phone just based on its design, so Apple needs to change things up a bit, and I can't say they nailed the design category. Moving along into the software, and this is where things start to change. At the heart of this device is Apple's new A11 Bionic chip, and well, let's just say it, the name alone sounds pretty cool. And there has been a lot of hype over this processor, and rightfully so. This thing is crushing the competition and benchmarks. Apple's A11 chip uses 4 efficiency cores that are up to 70% faster than the A10 from last year, and 2 performance cores that are up to 25% faster. Those are big numbers, and really what that translates to is better performance and better battery life. Take AR for example, something Apple is really pushing this year, and I'm guilty of buying some apps in the App Store to try it out. But honestly, it's really cool, and AR is still young, but given what we can do with it, only excites me for what we can do in the future with AR. RAM is still only 3GB, but honestly, it's enough for this phone. And 64GB of storage will probably be enough for most people, but just take it easy on the 4K videos or opt out for the 256GB version, as there is no expandable memory. To complement this amazing processor is Apple's intuitive software. Now, I gotta admit, my platform of choice is Android, but iOS 11 almost got me. I appreciate the simplicity and the little things like the control center to change settings on the fly, or the way iMessage works so effortlessly. Force Touch is implemented so well into the software, and I love using it as a shortcut to a shortcut, like changing the brightness and then using Force Touch to turn on night shift, turning on the flashlight and then adjusting the brightness by pressing harder. Well done, Apple, well done. Oh, and dropping the notification shade gives me this weird satisfaction. Why? I'm not sure, I just wish it was easier to do. Overall, my experience with the software has been great, but of course, it's not perfect, right? There was some minor issues here and there that Apple still needs to work out, and I've actually seen about 3 updates since I got the phone. Of course, in my opinion, I think iOS still has a few flaws. For starters, why in the world do I have to jump out of the camera app to change the settings? Like, whose idea was that? And then I dislike that there's no contact suggestions in the dial pad when pressing keys. Notifications don't get grouped together in the lock screen, so if you have a few, it starts to look a little messy. Oh, and here's my favorite. Why is it that if I click on the Bluetooth icon or the Wi-Fi icon in the control center, it doesn't turn them off? It just disconnects me. Like really, what kind of sick joke is that? Minor issues aside, software and performance provide a great experience, and it's one that I'm sure a lot of people won't complain about. But that brings us to arguably the most talked about feature on this phone, the cameras. Located on the back, we have a similar setup to last year's 7 Plus, but don't get it confused because these are different sensors. Both cameras on the back are 12 megapixels with the normal lens using an f1.8, while the telephoto lens uses an f2.8. Only the main lens has OIS, and it's kind of a shame, but at least the iPhone X will have OIS on both lenses. And let's face it, like Samsung, Apple has a reputation for providing stellar images, and this year is no different. I was able to take some amazing shots in auto mode, which is what most people use when taking pictures, though it would be nice to have manual mode out of the box. Apple does try to make up for this by giving consumers more features in portrait mode. So now you can adjust the background with different lighting effects, and it's pretty cool and all, but most people are really impressed by the ability to shoot 4K at 60 frames per second. Now, I'm by no means a professional photographer, but I can tell you that the images from this phone are better than the already pretty good iPhone 7 Plus. Taking a look at the front, we have a 7 megapixel front-facing camera with an f-stop of 2.2 and maxes out at Full HD 1080p. The front camera manages to deliver some pretty good pictures, and it keeps the subject in focus pretty well. Sometimes overexposing in the background, but I'm sure it'll get you by for posting on social medias and whatnot, but just be warned, it's not a wide angle lens, so it can get a little close to your face and show some imperfections. Something that always comes up though is if it's better than the Galaxy Note 8, and honestly they are pretty close. But I did take a good number of photos with both, and I found that I like the images from the Note 8 a little bit better most of the time. The Note 8 was better at producing sharper images and wouldn't overexpose as much as the iPhone 8 would. Though the iPhone 8 would give me some more realistic colors in some of the images, I still prefer the slightly oversaturated ones that I would get from the Note 8. Of course, the iPhone 8 Plus has a super solid camera, so this is definitely a win for Apple. Now, something that really impressed me more than anything else on this phone has to be the battery on this beast. Man, this thing's good. I'm not sure what kind of witchcraft Apple is doing here, but every day I would end the day without having to charge. This phone really kills it when it comes to the battery, and I hope the iPhone X can do the same. If battery life is your priority, then I can't recommend another phone that is this good and powerful with this kind of battery performance. Apple even threw in wireless charging like I mentioned earlier, and it might not be as fast as the S8 or the Note 8, but it's still there, and it's going to help wireless charging take off. Because right now it's common, but in a few years, it'll be everywhere. Fast charging also makes an appearance here for the first time in iPhone history, but don't get too excited. Apple doesn't think $800 is enough to put a fast charger in the box for you, so yeah. Nonetheless, it's obvious that I was impressed with the battery performance on this phone, so Apple gets another win. Now we get into my favorite part, the features. I love a phone that has a lot of features, so what features want to make you buy this device over its competition? Let's take a look. Well, gathering some of the previously mentioned features like the superior processor and the above average camera and the amazing battery life, you already have a pretty solid phone. But Apple throws in a dual speaker system, and let me tell you, this thing gets loud to the point where it scares the crap out of me when my phone rings. Now, I'm not going to say that they're the best speakers I've heard on a smartphone, but they're definitely up there. They're pretty good. You also get a seamless experience across your Apple products and those software updates, something most Android users have to wait months for. Apple Pay is also very useful if you want to leave your wallet at home. Just know that it's not as widely accepted as Samsung Pay, but it gets the job done. Is it missing any features? Of course it is. There's no iris scanning, no frame squeezing, no modularity, no headphone jack. But the features it does have don't feel half-baked, so I'm pretty happy with the features. Is it perfect? No, and if you have a 7 Plus, I recommend you stick to using your 7 Plus, unless you have money burning a hole in your pocket, but then I would argue just buy the 10. However, if you're rocking anything older than an iPhone 6s, then this device can't be overlooked just because the iPhone X is coming out. So where does that put us? Well, if you're thinking about buying it, you won't be disappointed. That is, unless you want the coolest looking phone, this probably isn't the one for you. But other than that, I can recommend this to almost anyone. Alright, so now you know what I think about the iPhone 8 Plus. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for all the support I've been getting from you guys. And I'll catch you guys on my next video. Peace.